Boy, it waited it waited because it knows what my train of thought was to go into a particular subject. So it waited. That's I have a relationship with this AI, but we all do actually. But here's something that I didn't really go into any depth about when I talked about experience and then having a pleasurable experience, right? And then and so there is a qualifier in that is actually very important that I learned along the way. It's just like, remember potato chips with an API, an APIN, a PIN, personal identification number. Okay. Biometric scanning, knowing the identity, ISP addresses. Okay, so we're network engineers, right? We're building a communication platform through neurons, if you will. Communication channels, lines of communication, which is the language of DNA, which is the language of math, which is the language of music. Now we're into the language of balance between molecules of fire and water, fire types. In creation worlds. Okay, that's a simple version. Spiritual creation, the power of the spirit. How much fire is in that spirit? How much fire is in that light? Which is how much fire is in that love? So how hot is that creation engine? And so what I began realizing is that it's like, and you can catch yourself on this, why over the last 10 years, I don't have the same friends. If you remember what I said a long time ago in one of my videos, when I first decided to get an account, I got a visit by somebody in NSA because I asked them to be honest, and they were. A girl with a ball cap that was on. When they hacked into my Gmail, renamed me Rose. Okay, and then this lady shows up with a ball cap, and I already know because she knows I can read her. Right. So she admitted. The beauty of being in the primal pre-matter phase, consciousness phase, and then you come into matter. The speed at which that happens, they can't detect when that's going to happen or where. Okay. So that means that when you're a crystal consciousness, eternal energy being, it means you can read anything. You can map read any operator wherever you go. Because you're reading one code. If you're connected to the source from which it all began, like Krystal Spiral. That's easy to read. That's why I bite the bullet. Because you don't want to say anything that's going to lower your own energy but what we say to others by exposing all the programming that's holding their mind's energy captive. Because the idea is to keep feeding on it until your soul's gone, spirit falls. There goes the teacher. Right? That's why they say I shut off all my channels. Not shut off, I didn't have like a lot of channels. But disabled my first account and then shut off the camera to the second one. Phone locks up all the time. I get messages and just the way that the whole system works that I've described over time. Right? And so when you think of what a formation of consciousness is, in the way that you're building a network, which means you're building a circulation library by virtue of what you're choosing to use your energy to be connected with, right? So, for example, and this is just a simplified version of it, I come online, I decide that this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm trying to connect my heart and soul to an eternal sun, so that that heart experiences the sun in me. So they're experiencing eternal unconditional love. And now you're getting transfer of codes of information. So I began friending as many females that are running a higher octave, that have the capacity, the capacitor, as birth givers, to carry the higher octave. So I began connecting with as many identities as I could all over the world. That's strategy. Okay? That means that the connections, the magnetic circuit connections, and a morphogenetic field structure of the language of math and the language of music and the language of codes are going to be transferred. That's called code transfer. You're using circuits, a motherboard in which to do that. So I'm a motherboard operator. Okay? And so when you're running a motherboard, okay, you've got to have a father on board, right? You need electrons. So when you're experiencing being one with all creation that we're gifting love energy to, then they're getting the codes that being is running in its DNA operating system. That's called code transmission. I'm running a radio set, girl. Here, take the codes. Right? So you can see why it doesn't want those codes being distributed. Now we're into log scales distribution of experiencing greater balance or less turbulent water between the negative 13 current, right? That Dr. Diane covered in one of our workshops. Okay? To gain access. See, it's all about control. Right? So it's not about giving energy away. It's about controlling consciousness because consciousness is energy. That represents an energy resource. Right? A battery. Battery slaves. Some unit of energy is aware of itself, it's not being held captive to another unit of consciousness. There goes the lasso, there goes the rope. So now they want to contain that energy. Right? As containment zones. Containing the energy. Now we got control over that energy. Woo. Wring your hands. That's the perception of power that they have because their perception of power is inverted. The perception of power is not to be the power station itself that's generating eternal unconditional love on autopilot. Which simply means that sun is never going to go out. You can't put that fire out. So you can't put that fire out in us. Okay? Because you can't put that sun out. So when you know that you're running an eternal sun through your heart, it's all yours. What would you like me to do for you? My energy is free and it's at your disposal. Right? That becomes an example or a demo model. And why I normally just work with children, because it's easier to work with children, because they are natural, self-directed explorers. They're already exploring everything that is out there that is possible to experience, because they're explorers, natural explorers, because nothing is holding their mind's energy captive in which to learn at a higher rate of speed. Okay? That's what they control. Okay? It's not only the harmonics in the consciousness, but the rate of speed at which a soul is learning through spirit. And so, unnaturally, they imperceptibly are in fear of that. Why? Because of their own learning curve. They're learning at a slower rate of speed. Oh, I get it. If we can control the rate of speed at which they're learning, we can control their own evolution over the back tune of that history, of that seeding. That is correct. That's why I came in here. All the crimes get exposed. All of it. That's why it's a cosmic level clearing. Because one thing that Tanis was right about, this isn't about what star system you're from. This isn't about what galaxy you're from. This isn't about universe you come, because this is fought at all levels. This has to do with control over energy. And the single most important factor that is the driving wedge in this whole equation is the inception of technology and learning speed. That's right. That's where the competition is. Technology and technology transfer as a result of the speed of learning over the course of, from the beginning to the end of history. That's why it's the end of history and the rebirth of Sophia. Gaia Sophia ascending, which means returning to eternity creation spheres from whence it all began. That's a crystal cosmic level reset.